Okay, here's a video I've been wanting to do for quite a while, talking about emergency stoves, different types of wood, anything from wood stoves to alcohol stoves, and just to show that you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a good one and one that's reliable. Now this is a debris stove that, as you can see down inside, it's a gasifier. See the holes up inside. Now this type you want to use, it will cook with the wood, but it will gasify it, burn up a lot of the smoke. You won't see hardly no smoke at all if you use one of these, versus this firebox, which is nothing but a contained bonfire, small. Next to it, this is a knockoff of the nano firebox. But anytime you got something that small, I don't see spending a lot of money for titanium, when most you can do is cook a few little, cup meals or something on it anyway. It's kind of, other than it folds down flat and fits in a little small pouch, it's kind of useless actually. If I was going to do that, and you don't want to spend a lot of money, now I just made this with a can, two cans, soup cans, one bigger than the other, and this is like a Campbell soup can. You can see this one's pretty old. Holes in the bottom of it around here to match with these holes down here. So when it's down inside, it gets plenty of air. The bottom of it is full of holes to where it burns. It can burn from the top down, and on the inside you see the holes going all the way around. Now I did every one of these with just a pocket knife. Stick it in and give it a little twist. But this thing here, if you fill it up, it'll burn for about 20 minutes straight, because it consumes everything. When this is done, there won't be an inch of ash left inside. Again, you're not going to, cook fried chicken on here, but any of the little meals that you cook in a cup, this is normally the cup that I use. It's 300 milliliters. I don't know, that's about what, 10 ounces maybe, 8 ounces. And I just got that because for cooking soup, or if you're just doing, meals ready to eat, works good. And I carry a little homemade alcohol stove inside. This is just a piece of wood that I think I put some Gorilla Glue on there. And it's a beer can, or a beer bottle, heavy aluminum, and I put the holes at the top all the way around. I fill that up just below the holes here, and that wood gives it a good flat surface. And I can set my cup on there, and it'll boil that in just a couple of minutes. It'll bring it to a boil. Of course, faster when you put the lid on. And I keep a little windscreen in here made out of the same part of the bottle. And I just folded it over to make it tougher. And it makes a perfect windscreen. Plus it helps keep your handles from getting hot. I use an eyedropper fill it full of methanol. And I normally buy this either a can of heat if I catch it on sale, or I go to the Dollar Tree and buy the same thing. If you look at, well, I don't know if that'll focus or not, but it's the exact same thing. And they sell it as octane booster or gasoline antifreeze. They'll start selling here shortly. And it's real cheap, and it'll last a long time. Now, I've got two of these. I'm sure everyone's seen these alcohol stoves. I've got both these at the what was it? It wasn't Dollar General. Goodwill. I think I paid $1 for one and 50 cents for the other one. These are quite a bit like the Trangia because you can adjust the flame, you know, to simmer foods or whatever. And you can actually set your cup or a pot or a skillet or anything right on here. And the flames come out of the side. Of course, when you want to put it out, it's easy to put out. You just put the lid back on. These are a little bigger, a little heavier. But I've never been in a Goodwill where I didn't see these on the shelf. People buy them. And I don't know, I guess they never use them because I don't believe either one of them that I bought had ever been used. And here's one I made. You can buy these little tins. They come silver, copper, or brass color. They're just aluminum. I took the little handle they had off of it because it was just like a bead of some sort that was glued on there. I drilled a hole in it, put some paracord in it, tied a knot on it. Inside you can see what I done. I put a copper scouring pad just to help it bloom quicker, and I drilled holes around the top. I don't know if that'll focus, 2 in each spot. And again, you can set your cup, your pot, your skillet on there. Works fine. And when you want to cover it back up, you put it out. That's all you got to do. So that's a $1.25 stove. Works perfect. Same thing here. 2 different cans. That's a chicken salad, and I don't know where I got that one. I don't know. But this one here, I put a wick all the way around it, which is nothing but a wick for a kerosene lamp that I've stuck down in there. I cut it in half and just drove it in there with a pocket knife. And it helps just heat it up. You pour your liquid inside and it comes out the side here. I haven't yet, but I'm going to have to maybe drill another hole in there. I got one hole in there for the alcohol to seep through. I'm going to put another one on the other side. Again, another, cost you nothing. This is a knockoff of a Trangia. Now this one here is pretty old, but it works perfect. It's got the lid on it with the rubber O-ring inside. You can actually screw these back on and keep your alcohol inside. But all of these, you don't really need to worry with that so much because it's dirt cheap. You know, the alcohol doesn't cost much money. This one here is Hiram Cook's invention, I believe. Now he uses a Fancy Feast cat, but I don't buy no Fancy Feet. So this here is just Vienna sausages, a cup, and inside he uses a tomato paste can. This is the same size, both these cans. But this here is just some kind of soft drink. I cut it down and shoved one up inside the other to make it the correct height. And I don't use carbon felt. This is just going around for the wick. All I use is paper towel. They last 4 or 5 months, burning constantly. And it'll eventually burn down level, and there'll be just pure carbon. But it works perfect. Again, you do not have to spend no money to make that. You know, you pour your alcohol in at the top. It goes down and soaks into the wick. The great advantage to this versus these stoves like this with the holes in them, these here, when it gets really cold, are almost impossible to get them to balloon. This here, no matter what temperature, it'll ignite immediately, and they work great. That's one example of one of these that are, you know, homemade, that actually work better all of the time. Of course, you can buy these. You can buy these at the dollar store for $1.25. Just a little canned heat. And again, they got methanol in them. They got a fiberglass wick. You'll have to have a pot stand, which ain't nothing. I mean, anybody can make one of them, or you can even put it in that Firebox Nano over there and use it. $1.25. Now, if you're putting these in your bug out bag, you're guaranteed to have a fire with this. You know, you're guaranteed you can cook your food. And it costs you $1.25. This is another little alcohol stove that I made out of a deodorant can. Just cut it down, turned the lid upside down, shoved it in there. That was pretty rough. I had to actually turn it upside down, put a 2x4 across here, and hit it with a hammer to drive this down in. And just, you won't be able to see it on here. This thing don't focus good enough. But there is a crease in here where it widened it out. And you gotta go just below that when you put your holes in, so the vapors can escape. But again, there's a nice little stove, little bitty stove. It'll fit inside of my cup if I want to use it. Don't cost a dime. The Esbit stove that folds down flat and use fuel tablets. Each one of these tablets burns, I forget what it says on here, about 10 minutes. And you know, one of them's enough to boil your water for coffee, tea, or soup, oatmeal. The only things you're going to be cooking in that, you know, in a cup anyway. But you don't have to spend the money to buy the Esbit stove. That's a chicken salad. You buy it with crackers for $1. So you could always eat that and then make you a stove like this. You don't have to have a step bit. It's what I use to drill these holes. I mean, you could use a pocket knife. Throw a tablet in there, and it's going to be sturdy and set really well. Flat. You could put a skillet on there. You could put this cup on there. And again, the advantage to the solid fuel tab, you can buy them anywhere, Walmart, you name it. But you don't have to worry about, is the wood going to be wet? Is it going to be too cold to light the alcohol? These things always work. In fact, I was looking, my crossbars that fit on my alcohol stove fit right on here as well. You got to get them in the right configuration, but it's no problem. Now, you can pick them up for a couple dollars, or look up alcohol stove crossbars. You'll find a million ways of making them yourself. These are just a few ideas. But, you know, everybody needs to have some kind of an emergency stove. And you don't have to really spend any money to make one. And they work perfect. So get out there and practice with these, though, because you're going to find different types that you like and different types that you don't like. And like I say, each one of them depends on the situation you're in. Now, if I'm at home, this firebox is real handy, and so is this one. Now, this one here will go all the way down to the size of the bottom pot here. And it fits all, you know, in one little bag like this. So, I mean, there's an advantage to that. Plus, you can put a lot of gear inside of that. In fact, I could even put my cup in there and a little alcohol stove, a bottle of alcohol. I carry a little fork and spoon with me with my cup. Now I just cut them off. No need to spend a lot of money on this stuff. I just wanted people to, you know, realize you don't have to spend no money to have an emergency stove, but everybody needs one. Give it some consideration, you know, and watch everybody else's videos on these. You know, you may not like none of these, but, you know, you need to get something. But these ideas of not spending any money, you know, rather than buying a stove, maybe you could buy extra food with that money. You know, it's just something to think about.